What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're talking about an idea that I had. What if there were cards that never rotated out of standard format in the Pokemon trading card game? I asked my patrons for some feedback on this, and we have some cool cards that they suggested, as well as 5 cards that I thought of that I would like to never rotate out of standard format. So I'm excited to get into this video with you all after I shout out PotownStore.com, my lovely sponsor, and the best place for you to get PTCGO codes. Be sure to use code Celio for 5% off. Now let's get into this idea of eternal cards. So the question I'm posing here, what if there was a subset of cards that never rotated out of the standard format? Now, if you are not a patron of mine, or you are a patron of mine over at patreon.com/Celio's Network, and you didn't get to participate in this before the video came out, be sure to participate by starting discussion down in the comments below. So how would this work? How would it work to have eternal cards? I have 3 options here. These are my 3 ideas for how this could work. Option number 1, cards that are reprinted or spiritually reprinted every 2 to 3 years to keep the specific card or the role that it fills in the standard format. Something like Jirachi EX and Tapu Lele GX. They're very different cards, but they do the same thing essentially. Option number 2 would be a set of cards printed as an eternal set with the purpose of always existing in standard format. Maybe these would be cards that come out with a mark on them in regular sets, but the mark says that they won't rotate. Maybe this would be a mini set, like a Generations type set or a Radiant Collection type set, and it's just the purpose is just to print these cards that are going to be eternal for the standard format. Option number 3 is that the Pokemon Company could designate specific cards as eternal or not rotating if they deem the card to keep the game healthy or fun or interactive or consistent, or whatever it would be to have them keep the card eternal or not rotating out of standard. So there are some instances of eternal cards more or less already existing in the Pokemon trading card game. We do have some cards that fit my option 1. We have Shaymin EX and Crobat V. Crobat V is a spiritual reprint of Shaymin. Shaymin's been around the game for years, and now we have a new iteration of it in Crobat V. We had Professor Oak's New Theory and Cynthia, which both did the same thing. And then we have Professor Juniper, Professor Sycamore, and Professor's Research, which, spanning across all 3 cards, have been around for about a decade or so. So we kind of do have some examples here and there of these cards already kind of existing, but no official stamp on the card or official announcement saying this card will never rotate, anything like that. So our first patron's pick is coming from Melanie Springer, and she selected Lapras from Legend Maker with the Pokepower Support Navigation. Once during your turn, when you put Lapras onto your bench from your hand, you may search your deck for a supporter card, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So the Support Navigation ability on Lapras is a consistent way to search out a supporter, and notably, it's on a single price Pokemon. So this has been spiritually reprinted in Jirachi EX and Tapu Lele GX, but I think this would be a perfect card to always have in the game because it is a single prize Pokemon that's helping you your deck be consistent. The second patron's pick is coming from Josh Childers, and he selected Galarian Zigzagoon. So Galarian Zigzagoon, of course, I'm sure you all know about it if you're playing standard format these days. It has the ability Headbutt Tantrum. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may put 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. We have seen this type of ability used frequently whenever it's printed. Crobat G was a basic Pokemon that did the same thing. And then we had Golbat and Crobat from the XY era that when they evolved, they did a similar thing. I would be fine with always having this sort of ability available on a basic Pokemon. However, it is more useful when we also have a card like Scoop Up Net in the format to accompany it. So my first pick here is going to be Call Energy from Majestic Dawn. I think this card will always be a fan favorite, especially with veterans of the game. So with starter Pokemon fairly irrelevant in today's game, and the Sword and Shield turn 1 supporter role, I think evolution decks really need a boost, and Call Energy could be a great boost for evolution decks, because what evolution decks need is to get their basic forms and their pre-evolutions out as quickly as possible, and Call Energy would allow for that. Call Energy reads that Call Energy provides a colorless energy. Once during your turn, if the Pokemon Call Energy is attached to is your active, you may search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, and then your turn ends. So this would be actually really great in today's game, because you can't attack on turn 1 going first. So if this was out, it would really motivate people to play 4 Call Energy in their deck if they're playing a deck that can use colorless energy to its advantage, if they have a Pokemon with attack costs that have some colorless costs in there, and also if they're playing an evolution deck and you really need to get out your basic Pokemon for the deck. A possible change I thought of for this card, if it were to be reprinted, is maybe it can't be attached to a rule box Pokemon, or if it's attached to a rule box Pokemon, you can't use its secondary effect. It only provides a colorless energy. But let me know what you think for possible changes for Call Energy and for all the cards that we're talking about today, if they were to be reprinted as an Eternal card. Next, this is probably my favorite in the video, is Spiritomb from Arceus set. So Spiritomb, I think, could essentially be reprinted exactly as is and still be fine today, which this is a card from 12 years ago, and you can't typically reprint cards, Pokemon cards at least, from 12 years ago, and that Pokemon still be relevant due to HP and power creep. But I think Spiritomb could actually just be thrown right back into the swing of things, and it would be a playable card. So Spiritomb is a 60 HP dark Pokemon with the Pokebody Keystone Seal. Now note that today Keystone Seal would have to be an ability, and that where it reads trainer card, it would have to read item card. So Keystone Seal will read it as it would today, reads, as long as Spiritomb is your active Pokemon, each player can't play any item cards from their hand. So just being active, it locks both of you out of item cards. And then Darkness Grace is a free attack. Search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon. If you do, put 1 damage counter on Spiritomb. Even though you can't attack going first, I still think Darkness Grace and Keystone Seal combined would make Spiritomb a very, very good card. So the possible changes for this would just be change Pokebody to ability and change trainer to item, and I think we could just pop this in a future set and it would be super playable and good for the game to slow it down a little bit. Next is Ultra Ball, and I think this one was a given. This was brought up by multiple patrons. That was a card I had in mind as well, so I threw it in here. I think there are multiple reasons why this is better to have than Quick Ball and Pokecom. Specifically better than Quick Ball because having Quick Ball in the game benefits the big basic decks, like ADP Zacian we'll use as an example. If you open up your hand with 2 Quick Balls, it's kind of a no-brainer that you can use both of those Quick Balls to get your ADP and your Zacian, or get your Zacian and a Dedenne, something like that. But if you had Ultra Ball in the format instead of Quick Ball, playing the 2 Ultra Ball and then discarding an additional 4 cards needs 6 cards to be played from your hand / discarded. So I think it's a lot less feasible to use those Ultra Balls all in the same turn like you can with Quick Balls right now, which is really benefiting big basic decks. Another thing benefiting big basic decks is that Quick Ball is essentially an Ultra Ball for 1 less card when your whole deck is basic Pokemon, whereas Quick Ball only searches out basics when you're trying to build an evolving deck, so Ultra Ball would help evolving decks as well. I don't think this would need any changes. Next is Ditto Prism. I think this is my second favorite on the list. Ditto Prism was an overperformer. It was an outstanding card in the standard formats that it lived through. I'll always want this card back due to the diversity it promoted and the consistency of evolution decks and kind of the deck room that it gave you when building an evolution deck. So Ditto has the ability Almighty Evolution. Once during your turn, you may put any stage 1 card from your hand onto this Pokemon to evolve it. You can't use this ability during your first turn or the turn this Pokemon was into play. So it essentially is a basic Pokemon for any stage 1 Pokemon. And a possible change I thought of for this one is pretty cool. Remove the Prism tag and give it a second ability that reads, if you have another Ditto in play, discard this card from play. So you can never have 2 of it in play at the same time unless abilities are shut off, in which case the Almighty Evolution ability wouldn't be working anyway. So I think if you remove the Prism tag, since I don't think we'll get Prism Star Pokemon again, or at least for a very long time, remove that Prism Star rule and just give it another ability that basically makes it so you can only have one of these Dittos in play at a time. And last, but certainly not least, is N. N was a card that felt necessary to the Pokemon trading card game for a long time, and I think players that played with N throughout all of its years and players coming back into the game now with N gone from the standard format really feel a void in the game. It is perfectly balanced and should always exist as an option. The fact that in the beginning of the game either player can play and you both draw 6 cards, or you can play it at the end of the game or even the mid game and it might hurt one player more than another, really gives consistency, decisions, and a bit of variance to the game. And I think those are the 3 things that are really important to Pokemon. Having consistency to your deck so you can set up, evolve your Pokemon, attach energies, and you don't want to disrupt your opponent too early because that's not a healthy thing for the game. So N doesn't disrupt your opponent. It gives them a new hand, but it's a new hand of 6. And then it does give a bit of variance, and card games should have natural variance. And then it also gives decision making and skill rewards depending on when you play it in the mid to late game, if you let your opponent take a lead first so you can make them shuffle and draw less cards. I would say absolutely no changes for N. I think it's a perfect card. So those are my thoughts and some cards that I would like to see as eternal cards in the Pokemon trading card game in 2021. Let me know what you think about all of this. I'd love to hear some comments and discussion from you all, so leave me some comments down below, and be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already for daily Pokemon TCG content. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.